body may take up a lot of space.
Or have to speak with its hands. But no matter what body you're born with, you only get one. Let's fight like hell for it.
Hey, my treat today.
Thank you. But I don't think they take that here.
Of course they take Discover. It's accepted at 99% of places.
99%? I didn't know that.
You're stuck in the past. Unlike me.
You look rad.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places nationwide. Earn cash back at all of them.
Think scaling your AI pilots is hard? Think again. With Watson X, you can deploy AI across any environment. Above the clouds and on lots of clouds.
Like me.
You look rad.
Is hard? Think again. With Watson X, you can deploy AI across any environment.
You look rad.
Quick audio check here for me. We're going to start right after the final gun. Quick audio check here for me. We're going to start right after the final gun. Thanks for hanging on, everybody. We'll be getting going here as soon as the final gun comes, which we're going to check to see if Indiana gets a onside kick. If they don't, then as soon as that final gun goes, we'll be live, taking your calls, talking some IU football, both short-term and long-term. How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. Indiana, their dream season comes to an end in South Bend. 27-17 is your final score as Indiana turns in maybe its worst game of the year at the worst possible time. I'm kind of a mixed feelings on this one because we have two very different things that we're dealing with here. One has to do with this game and this loss to Notre Dame in the college football playoff. The other has to do with just what we're looking at from short-term and long-term views of this thing. 812-393-2600 is the number, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on the game. I want to hear your thoughts on the season. I want to celebrate this a little bit, even if it's disappointing here on December 20th, because when we started this season, there were very few people who thought Indiana football would be where it was today. And they did not turn in a great performance. They scored a couple late touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make it a respectable score, a 27-17 final. Looks good in the record books, but this looks like a start. It's a start. You go from where we were a year ago to where we are today. It is night and day. A lot to go over with this game. 812-393-2600 is the number. Hopefully, we will be able to hear from Kurt Signetti. That we'll be able to get the information and the audio of his post-game presser, because certainly I want to hear what he has to say and want to be able to bring that to you as well. But this is an IU team that it's the first time all season that I just felt like they did not expect to win, I will say. They played more like they hoped to win, which is something that we've seen in the past and in the bad old days. And it's frustrating because it hurts that they lost this one, and they just didn't have an answer for Notre Dame's speed. Notre Dame is more talented, and all of that shows up when the lights are brightest. And two big plays really made a huge difference in this one. One of them was the Curtis Rourke interception that he threw in the first quarter. Indiana was driving, had an opportunity to score. Curtis throws a pick. It's a bad pick because guy he was throwing it to wasn't open. Had a bad pick, and then you had the 98-yard touchdown run that happened right after that. And it's a bust the likes of which this defense hasn't had all season. And I don't want to hear that, well, they haven't faced Notre Dame all season, and this all puffed up thing with Notre Dame. To me, that was just a straight-up bust and a little bit of speed. And you could have that against any team. It just happened at a really terrible time on the road, which I have my feelings about with that too. I've heard people say that they think that all of these college football playoff games should be played on campuses and it'll be great and this, that, and the other. And, I hear people say, well, the NFL does it. The NFL also doesn't weight in things like rankings and strength of schedule and everything that goes along with it, because obviously they don't have rankings and things. They have tiebreakers to get your playoff spots and your seeds and everything that goes along with it. But one thing that I don't like about the final score and the fact that Indiana needed 14 late points to make it respectable is it feeds into this narrative that Indiana didn't deserve to be there, that somehow a 3-loss SEC team deserved to be there more. Piss on that. Indiana deserved to be in the college football playoff. They earned it and didn't have a great showing. You know what? There's a lot of teams that have a great regular season and earn top seeds and then lose to a 16 seed in the NCAA tournament. So I don't want to hear any complaints about that. 812-393-2600. I want to hear from you, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say. On the night, Curtis Rourke, 20 of 33 for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Like I said, it was a tough interception. Not his most accurate game. And it was, just a frustrating night for Curtis. And one of the frustrations for me is the fact that this Indiana offense looked different than we saw it all year in terms of play calling. And that is something that I think is going to be a little bit of a storyline. The fact that Indiana, I felt, played a little scared in the first half. Their defense was softer than we've seen. Their tackling was atrocious. I mean, it was really bad tonight. It was really, really bad. And yet, in that second half, Indiana gave up 10 points. The defense did enough to give itself an opportunity. It just wasn't able to do enough to come back, and that's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, this feels more like a start for Indiana than anything else. But it's an exciting future, if a disappointing evening. Let's put it that way. 812-393-2600. We're going to go to our first caller here. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Yeah, it's Bob. I'm calling from San Antonio. How you doing?
Good, Bob. How are you doing?
Well, I got to keep it in perspective. I'm obviously disappointed in tonight, but I think Coach Signetti ought to go into the presser afterwards and goes, guys, I'm right. I was wrong. I predicted we had 10 wins in us, and actually we had 11. So I think that would be kind of funny and kind of keeping up with his character. But, overall, the defense actually played pretty well. You take that one run away, we still held them under 100 yards rushing. But there was just some big plays, that first interception, the long run, the punt that we did do. I still don't understand that. I think
I agree.
That'll be an interesting question if somebody asks Coach Sig that, why did he do that? It almost looked like we were quitting. So that I don't understand that. And when he always talks about putting the foot down on the neck, wasn't in that line. So I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. That was a head scratcher. You're down that much. It's tough to convert it. And look, Indiana had that opportunity late to go ahead and come back. But at that point, I agree. That was a real head scratcher because you can't be afford to give the ball back when you're down that much.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, with all watch the game day all day, and, they really kind of, threw shade on IU that whole time. They kept bringing up the fact that we've lost 713 games and really discounted us. It's too bad, but I like the fight that we had in us. I have 3 siblings. I grew up in Lafayette, Indiana. I went to IU, graduated in 76. I have 3 siblings that went to Purdue, and they, of course, showed me that graphic of 713 losses, and I said, yeah, and even as bad as we are, we still beat Purdue 66-0. So,
and my attitude on that, too.
Still a great year.
My attitude on that is, who gives a damn about 700 losses? What does that have to do with this year? I mean, much the same way that, the 11 national championships that Notre Dame has won. That's great. How many have they won in the past 30 years?
0.
Exactly. So that's really nice. And I mean, look, it's Indiana basketball. It trumpets its 5 national championships, but they are old banners. And that's the same thing with Notre Dame. It's great that they have that history, but that had nothing to do with tonight's game. Yeah.
I do, in all sincerity, wonder, if you go back and look at the 2 games we really didn't play well tonight at Ohio State, huge discrepancy in 4- and 5-star talent. I think Ohio State had like 67 4- and 5 stars. Notre Dame has 57. We have 10. And I think on the road in big games like that, it does take, some studs, as they say. And we really, we got guys just playing maxed out. And but anyway, it's still a phenomenal year. I'm still a proud Hoosier. I'm not taking my IU sticker off my car in Texas, so it's been a heck of a year, and I'm really happy. I will tell you, I was optimistic for tonight. I have a hotel room in New Orleans on January the 1st, but I'll get rid of that now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the call, Bob. Really appreciate it.
You got to enjoy your show all the time. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right.
812-393-2600 is the number. I want to hear from you. And I was getting irritated by the Notre Dame 11 national championships. Look at all this. Notre Dame has won in the past 50 years. They've won 2 of those national championships and only 1 since 1977. We have 0. I understand that. And that Indiana is the losingest football program in college football history in terms of total losses, but that doesn't have a damn thing to do with what today was about. And, it's a narrative that goes along with everything, that Indiana didn't belong because partially it's Indiana. And, the Hoosiers, at the very least, they fought and fought and fought. And that's all you could ask for. That's all you could ask for in this kind of situation. You have to be able to battle constantly. And, it was a frustrating night because this was an Indiana team that we had not seen really this year. Even that Ohio State game, the tackling was a little bit better than what we saw tonight. And it's just a shame. But Notre Dame has a lot of talent, and talent matters in this situation. Want to mention, too, that Curtis Rourke, he had the 2 touchdown passes, and that means that Curtis Rourke now has IU's single-season touchdown passes record with 29. He won more than Kellen Lewis had in 2007. So congratulations to Curtis on that. Some of the other numbers: Justice Ellison, 11 carries for 37 yards. Tyson Lawton, 10 carries for 34 yards. The Hoosiers ran for just 63 yards on the day. Elijah Surratt, 4 catches for 67 yards to lead the Hoosiers. Miles Price had 5 catches for 56. Keyshawn Williams, 5 catches for 47. Indiana, in the second half, let me go ahead and get this comparison up the accumulation stuff, that Indiana in the second half outscored Notre Dame 14-10. Notre Dame outgained them 152-140. And they played them straight up. It was basically that 98-yard touchdown run that broke Indiana's back early, I think, and really hurt them, as well as the turnover, got Indiana into a hole that they just couldn't dig out of. And it's a shame that that's how it played out, but it is what it is. And I just feel like it is a start for this Hoosier Ball Club. Sue on the chat says, disappointing play calling, disappointing tackling, disappointing aggressive performance, and the head coach having team ready. What else to say? And none of that is wrong. It was odd play calling in the first half, especially. The tackling was really disappointing. I felt the defense played too soft, especially in the first half. And just altogether, the punt, like Bob said, that was really odd to me as well, because that is something that Kurt Cignetti really hasn't really messed with, in not being aggressive, and I thought that was a little bit odd. We have our next caller. Caller, give me your name, where you're from, and what you got. Caller, are you there? Not hearing that caller. Hopefully they'll come back. We'll give. Do we have another caller? If you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got, go on ahead.
Hey, it's Chad in Indianapolis. How are you?
Hi, Chad. How are you doing?
Oh man, it's I tell you what, sports are something, aren't they? It's just I'm wrapping my head around the most historic season we've ever seen. I started a freshman at IU in 2000 and saw Phil Rivers drive down and beat us in my first ever game. And it's just been not too many highs since then. And then this season's just been historic. It's been unbelievable. And then, at times you got to lose, like tonight. And it's just, you try to keep it in perspective, right? Like how historic this has been, where we are on the rise. It's just so disappointing. It's really hard to, feel how you feel, right?
Well,
like,
I tell my kids, my wife, she'll watch me, watch sports and say, why do you do this to yourself? And it's the juice isn't, the highs never match nearly the lows. It just doesn't. But when you have a season like this, all you could do is go ahead and go along for the ride and truly enjoy it. Next year's going to be different. We've felt this, and we know what it feels like, and we want to continue it. There'll be expectations next year. This year was so amazing that it's difficult to even put into words what it meant.
It really is. And what I'm excited about is the fact that we sold out the last 4 or 5 games.
Yep.
There's real juice in the program. That will continue on. And obviously we'll have to continue to deliver, but there is real juice in the program, which is awesome.
Well, and it's a process to build a program too, to bring in bigger guys, bring in faster guys, do all of that kind of thing. And certainly what has been accomplished this year was really important, because you did go from crawling to running right away. And now it's that next step of Indiana is a much more attractive program on December 20th, 2024 than it was on December 20th, 2023. And that makes a big difference.
There's no doubt. Absolutely.
Well, I certainly appreciate the call, Chad, and really appreciate you listening. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate all you do. Thank you. Go IU.
Take care. 812-393-2600 is the number. I'm going to try this 614 number again, and hopefully you'll be able to hear you this time. If not, you call back. That would be great. If you want to go ahead with the 614 number, if you can on the line, I want to hear from you. Go ahead. We're not able to hear from the 614 number. So if you could go ahead and give us a call back, it might work better that way, because for whatever reason, we're not able to hear you. On the chat, Even Flow 70 says this game was lost by the offensive coordinator and conservative and so predictable play calling. And why were they fair catching every single kick? All in all, good season. More talent is needed for sure. And yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong about that. Now, the fair catching on every single kick is something that they've done a lot this year. And it was obviously a strategy that they came into. I felt Indiana was rather conservative in this game for sure. And that is disappointing to me because that hasn't been the Hoosiers this year. They haven't been conservative. And, you know, part of it may have been that they wanted to limit the opportunity to make mistakes and give Notre Dame a chance to use their speed and everything that goes along with it. But once you're down, hey, man, it's time to go. You got to move. You have, obviously, your offense isn't working what you did. It's time to adjust things. And I felt like Indiana didn't really get rolling until Notre Dame let off the gas. And that is something that is disappointing to me. But again, you try to keep everything in perspective because it's just been such an exciting season, and it's disappointing that Indiana lost this game. And I'm still waiting, and we all are waiting for this Indiana team to pull off a victory that is shocking. That to me has been something that has been missing this year. They beat Michigan, and that's okay. They were that was good. Nebraska, Washington, they were good wins, but were they shocking? And the answer is no. Shocking would have been going into Ohio State and giving them everything they had. This game to me, if Indiana would have won at this point, it wouldn't have been a shocking game. But it would have been a game that certainly would have turned heads and would have quieted the people who were saying Indiana didn't deserve to be there. And that's what is most disappointing to me with this, is because it just feeds that narrative. Now it's the job of Kurt Cignetti and his coaching staff to go back and shut those people up and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the 2024 season wasn't some fluke. It was something special. And I think we all feel that because it was a special year. 11-2 is something that was, just something nobody really dreamt about. And yet, here we are. Indiana was able to do it. It also was disappointing at times that James Carpenter had the personal foul call along the sideline. People could talk about it being borderline all they want to. The bottom line is there's no reason for him to make a play at that point, to try to make that extra shove out of bounds. It was clear, let it go. You know they're going to call it, let it go. That's not what happened. Indiana didn't have a number of bounces go their way. They got a stop on a fourth down on a weird fake field goal that Notre Dame was trying to get, and instead they gave Indiana the timeout. And Sig was doing the exact right thing, but in that situation, it actually would have been better if they didn't. But it was that kind of night for the Hoosiers. 812-393-2600. We got another caller. If you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. It's Bill from Boston. Super proud of the Hoosiers this year. Just unbelievable. Wouldn't have fathomed this season. Graduated in '92 during the Bill Mallory years, and definitely over-delivered. Those are great, but this super excited for the years coming forward. I think it's just a matter of a talent. We kind of had a super FCS team going against blue chippers, and you need some breaks to go your way. We didn't get any breaks at all. I thought that third down supposed catch that Notre Dame got was not a catch. And there were some other breaks we really didn't get. But Notre Dame, hats off. They deserve to win the game. Unfortunately, I think we're going to hear some from the SEC this week about how we didn't deserve to be there.
Let 'em
but
talk.
at the end of the day, Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's a great season, and I'm looking forward to great football from the Hoosiers moving forward.
Yeah, it's really exciting what they were able to accomplish, and you know that head coach isn't going anywhere. The coaching staff is mostly staying intact, and there's still a lot of talent that's going to be coming back. And ultimately, 27-17, we all know that the score wasn't as close as that because of the two late touchdowns. But I do appreciate that they continued to battle along the way and try to make this thing respectable on the scoreboard.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. I just the punt two scores down. It's a head scratcher, like. Especially when you're talking how you're talking, like Signetti was pregame, like you can't talk like that and then punt in that situation. So I'm really curious as to hear what the thought was behind that.
Well, and you throw in the fact that one that punt. And the pregame talk, if people haven't heard it, I mean, it was very clear. He did not mince words. He said that they don't just beat top 25 teams; they beat the shit out of top 25 teams. That was what that's what Sig said on the air. And so, if you're going to do that, part of that is trying to instill some swagger in your team and try to instill some belief. That's part of the culture change I think that's going on around here. But you're right, to then punt. In that situation, when you're down as much as you were, that was kind of some mixed signals right there.
Yeah, I don't think you win any recruits with that call. So, it's nobody's perfect, but great season overall, and looking forward to the rest of the playoffs. Tomorrow's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Thanks so much for the call. I appreciate it. Try to stay warm in Boston.
You got it. We're trying to. We just got about 4 inches of snow here, so we're hanging tight.
Good. Keep it there. So, thanks so much for the call. Take care.
You got it.
812-393-2600 is your number. Brayton on the chat says, got to hit the portal big, and no question about that. I mean, that's absolutely the case. There's no secret there that you do need to replace some talent, including at quarterback. I'll be interesting to see how that plays out because Indiana does have some talent in that quarterback room, but certainly Curt Signetti and Mike Shanahan like and trust veterans in that position. We saw what a solid veteran can do throughout the season. Curtis just didn't look like himself. And Reed says on the chat, do you think Rourke was really skittish due to the rushes and sack? I see how that could shake confidence, but shouldn't Curtis be more confident based on the rest of the season? Something that Chad brought up in the chat earlier about Drew Evans being out for the season was a serious blow. And there's no question there is a before and after performance effort when it comes to before and after Drew Evans was in the lineup and he went out. I do think that Curtis started to look at the pass rush a little bit, get a little bit more skittish. He missed some throws that we've seen him make along the way, and he just missed them tonight. Is it a matter that the spotlight was a little bit just too bright in that moment? That speed was a lot different. I don't know. We'll have to, find out from Curtis. I do know that he's a guy that is confident and has put together one hell of a historic season for Indiana. Still finished 20 of 33 for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Actually had a higher passer rating than Riley Leonard, who went 23 of 32 for 201, a tutty, and a pick. Curtis was rated 129.3. Leonard was 128.7. Of course, Leonard made more plays with his feet, and so there's that. But Curtis, I thought, did bounce back in the second half pretty well, and that was a positive to me at the very least. In the second half, let's see, I'll pull that out. In the second half, Curtis goes 14 of 21 for 2 touchdowns and 138 yards. Wasn't enough, obviously, but he did settle down from some of those early struggles. 812-393-2600 is the number. I'm happy to stay on to talk IU football for as long as you folks want to. I also wanted to talk about, this season. And at halftime, my sister, who lives in Minnesota, had sent a little care package for Christmas, for the holidays. It included a box of chocolate-covered cherries, which was something that my dad, Norman, that was his favorite thing to eat. His favorite, it was a holiday thing. So at halftime, I popped open the chocolate-covered cherries, and I had one, and I missed being able to talk IU football with him. What it used to be was after games, before he passed in 2017, I used to call him on my drive home from Memorial Stadium or from the radio show and talk to him just about the game and talk to him. And that is something that this season, certainly fans have been able to enjoy this with their families and enjoy it. You have grandparents, parents, kids, wives, girlfriends, whatever it is, they've been able to enjoy what honestly happens at a lot of other places, but usually didn't at Indiana. And to win at this level, this has been great. I have long said I wanted Indiana to be like Iowa, to where you go to bowls regularly every few years, you really pull it together and have yourself a nice big season that everybody can get excited about and put yourself in a position to compete. Indiana did that, and they did it in a way that just, shocked the college football world. Curt Cignetti, National Coach of the Year all over the place, winning all the awards that he can. Indiana needed something to get from point A to point B. And what Indiana's season did, it helped build connections with families who are now going to pack Memorial Stadium next year because there's still going to be this excitement around the program. It raised the profile of Indiana football to a level that has been unseen. And that includes the 2020 season and 2019 where Indiana was very, very solid. This was the next step in that, obviously with a different coaching staff, but it was still important. And now Indiana is a far more attractive place for transfers because they've seen what could be done. And they could see what exactly it is that the Hoosiers can do. And they've already picked up several transfer guys in the transfer portal along the way, and I expect that to continue because Curt Cignetti sold his team on a vision of what could be, and then most everything came true for them, and that is something that word gets around real quick. That hey, you know what, Curt Cignetti is a guy that can help you get where you want to go. And let people in the SEC bitch and moan about Indiana, whether they belong here or not. Hey, they were here. And they put up a fight, and that's all you could ask. 812-393-2600. The lines are open. Want to hear from you. This is, again, a football team that they have so much to do going forward. Again, the whole thing is disappointment tonight, optimism for the future. Because everybody's gotten a taste of this now. The coaching staff acts like they certainly believed in their process and will continue to go after that. But Indiana fans, I've been saying for weeks that this was the best of times because you could just enjoy it without any kind of expectations week by week by week. Now you've felt it. And also, it's a program that has experience of playing at this level. And that'll make a difference going forward as well. Disappointing today, optimism for what is possible in the future. Got another caller. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Jason from Noblesville, Indiana.
Hi, Jason. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Obviously disappointed by the outcome tonight, but Indiana, I just kind of Googled it, has been playing football since 1884, and the most games they ever won in a season is 9.
Yep.
They put up 11 this year under Coach Sig, and he did it with, I think Matt Leinart said on our team we had 44 players this year with 0 stars coming out of high school, and we played a loaded 5-star, 4-star, team, and our defense didn't play their best game, and with the basically one 98-yard touchdown run, we held them under 100 yards rushing, which is pretty much par for the course. And if we would have tackled better, it would have been less than that. I went to the Michigan game, I went to the Nebraska game. I'm 52, and in my lifetime, I never thought I'd see the scenes that in the stadium, that I saw this year. And I can't thank Coach Sig enough. I know, like the punt to tonight where he punted, he did the same thing against Ohio State, and I kind of understood that because you're trying to keep the score a little bit closer, to potentially make it look better to get into the college football playoff. Tonight I didn't get it, but you know what? All year long that guy's made the right calls. He set us up for a great recruiting class, I'm sure, in 2026 with all the juniors that came to those games those last four weeks of the season. We've already done, pretty well in the transfer portal this year. And I think the Mendoza kid from Cal made a surprise visit or a quiet visit. And, when you look at Curtis Rourke, the kid had an unbelievable season. The one thing I'm looking forward to potentially to the next quarterback that we have is somebody that maybe has a little bit better ability to escape pressure. He just is not doesn't really have that ability. But I mean, the way the kid played this year, I can't thank him enough for all the memories, and just overall, I can't say enough good things about this season and basically what Coach Sig has set up for the future of this program.
Yeah, again, you're exactly right. I mean, this is a team that was built to turn around quickly and built for actually the current college football environment. And the way everybody was able to get on the same page with so many transfers, there were 13 of them from James Madison, but they're also kids from James Madison. And that's a lower level of that. And it's from a pure talent standpoint, speed and all that. Look, if they had all those tools, they would have been at one of the bigger schools to begin with. So, the fact that he was able to bring those guys together and get them all on the same page, to me, is really a testament to what him and his coaching staff can do and what they'll continue to be able to sell to these players as they come into town.
Yeah, and when you're picked to finish 17th out of 18th in the Big Ten coming into this year, with the schedule that everybody saw they had, if you would have told me they were playing in the college football playoff tonight, and I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, I would have been, I wouldn't have believed you. But totally disappointed. Obviously, wish we would have played better on offense. But overall, I still can't believe the season we had. Looked at the schedule we've got next year. It's going to be a little bit tougher, but with better, we've already done pretty well in the transfer portal. I think one of the kids was recruited by A&M in Wisconsin. He chose Indiana. He's a 3-star, and I just think it's just the sky's the limit for Coach Sig, and think we're going to be mid-pack to upper tier within probably upper tier maybe 3-4 years down the road on a regular basis, but mid-tier maybe the next couple of years. But it's going to be fun to watch them build it.
Yeah, you mentioned next year's schedule, and look, this is a program that has spent decades hunting 6 wins a year, and now you turn into it. You add a trip to Iowa, a trip to Oregon, a trip to Penn State. That's tough. But you have to believe that Indiana comes into this thing, and their opponents are Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. Those are 3 wins. Illinois, at Bloomington, yeah. That should be a 4-0 start right there. Iowa and Oregon are going to be tough, but let's see what the measuring stick looks like. Then you're talking about Michigan State, UCLA at home, Maryland on the road, Purdue. They're still looking at that. you're still talking about 8 or 9 wins if you do anything close to what you did this year. And so that's why I say that it's not necessary. This is not, I don't believe this is going to be a fluke kind of season.
No, and you got next year on the defense. I think you got Fisher, Pons, Kamara, and Farrell, and maybe 1 or 2 other guys. And I think Surratt comes back on offense. You know, I'm not sure the other guys. I think Cooper's coming back. He's only a sophomore. I think some of the guys we got in the portal, I think the running back from UAB, which I watched some of his highlights, looks pretty good. He's going to be a 2-year player. So hopefully, you know, the thing too, where Coach Sig talks about the types of players he likes. He likes guys that have played a lot of football, you know, made a bunch of tackles, you know, made a bunch of catches with the guys he recruited this year. He didn't get injured, and it's productivity over potential type thing, and that's a formula that I think translates and really, you know, you see it immediately when they buy into his system and just stacking good day after good day after good day. It's like he says, if you're not getting better, you're most likely getting worse. And you just got to stack. And, I mean, just the whole guy's mindset, the way the guy talks about it, you know, it just makes sense. And you could tell if you watched him on YouTube and you watched the spring game and different things like that, you know, that this guy was special and he was different than a Tom Allen. I mean, no offense to Tom Allen. And then the one other thing tonight about tonight's game and the Ohio State game that just blows my mind. I don't want to single out one potential person, but the punter for tonight, I mean, the guy had like 20, 30-yard, two 20-yard punts, a 30-yard punt. I mean, he hit a couple good ones from the end zone. And then, you know, the one he dropped and he kicked to the wrong side of the field against Ohio State, and then they ran it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
That was tough to watch tonight too. And that's something, you know, you know, you just kind of expect your punter to be able to punt, and he didn't really play a great game tonight. The guy's been good all year, but it was just difficult to watch some of the you know, the field position that Indiana was put in. If they did stop them, you know, they were going to get the ball, you know, deep in their own territory, and that's what happened to them a few times. So they were just felt like they were you know, swimming against the current all night. But you know, ultimately, it's future's bright, and you know, love what I saw this year, and love what I expect to see in the future. So.
Well, I really appreciate the call. Thank you so much, and appreciate the insight. Take care.
Yeah, man, your show's been great all year, man. I'll look forward to listening to it next year.
All right, and after basketball games, because there are after basketball games coming up too, including tomorrow. Sure. So that might be more difficult to watch, but there it is. Thanks a lot.
You do a great job, man. Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
812-393-2600 is the number. That's, by the way, like I said, after every IU basketball game. Well, not every, I won't say everyone, because I think on December 28th or 29th, whenever they play Winthrop, there's not going to be a show. But after that, there will be. There will be one tomorrow after the Charlotte game as well, to talk about Mike Woodson's Hoosiers. But for tonight, we're still talking about IU football. Reed talks about how ABC guys kept talking about the next year college football playoff will need to consider the strength of schedule more, but how do they dare leave IU out with the margin of victory all year? We crushed our schedule, and that's been my argument all year, is you're in a major conference. You're not just beating teams, you're beating the hell out of teams. And there's discussion, well, 3-loss Alabama deserves it, and they, you know, what are you talking about? What are we doing here? You know, if we're going to do this, if we're going to play this kind of thing and say, hey, you got 12 teams and all of this, well, you know what? Then let's do this and set it up so that you don't have different leagues. You have the SEC division and the Big 10 division and the Big 12 division, and you take the top 3 teams from each one of those divisions, set up all the tiebreakers, remove the ranking portion of the program out of the equation, and go from there. You know, let's rearrange some things here, because this is the system that you got. And, you know, when you start talking about the margins on this thing and, you know, whether a team deserves it or not, you beat the teams that are in front of you. That's your job. And Indiana did their job and did it very well this year. 11 weeks out of 13. And I think we'll take that, and they deserved it. They absolutely deserved it. Beat last year's national champ, this year's national champ, or last year's national champ, last year's national runner-up. Each year is different, obviously, but it's not like they spent their whole season, playing nobody and losing to them. They beat the teams in front of them and beat them soundly along the way. 812-393-2600. Loving all the calls. Please keep it up. Just looking on, late in the game, we had somebody on Twitter say the defense is worn out. The offense has been horrible. Notre Dame did have the ball for 35 minutes, and they had some really long drives along the way. And by long drives, I'm talking about Notre Dame had drives of 16 plays, 12 plays, 11 plays, and another 11-play drive. Interestingly, the 16-play drive resulted in a touchdown, but that 12-play drive was a field goal. An 11-play drive, a field goal. An 11-play drive, another one, it says that there's a field goal attempt. It was blocked. Yeah, I was trying to remember him missing it. It was blocked. So those are what I like to call Bill Lynch wins, because Bill Lynch would talk about the importance of at least holding a team to a field goal. And so those were Bill Lynch wins along the way. And look, Indiana had in the first quarter that 98-yard touchdown run they gave up. Then the 16-play, 83-yard drive that ended in a touchdown early in the second quarter. And from that point on, Indiana handled its business, gave up a total of 13 points along the way. Doesn't erase the first 14, obviously, but certainly this was a team that battled to the very end and just didn't have the talent or speed to deal with Notre Dame. And that was disappointing to me because I am not quiet about my hatred for Notre Dame. I grew up in Northwest Indiana in Maryville, and so many fans up there are Notre Dame football fans and IU basketball fans, what I call the reversible jacket guys. And boy, I hate that. Don't be a coward. Pick a side. Either you're an IU fan or you're a Notre Dame fan. Don't go for, I like their football because they win in football, and I like IU's basketball because they win in basketball. Pick a side. Don't be a coward. And so I was disappointed that Indiana came out and struggled as much as they did early on. That was really disappointing to me. James on the chat said IU was a legit top 10 team. Notre Dame's a very good team. They'll give Georgia a fit. They will. They will. And another guy in the chat, GK, says IU earned their spot in the playoff, but they were never a top team in the country. I don't know how you measure that. I don't know how you measure that, because you just play the teams that are in front of you, and if you're beating the teams that are in front of you soundly, what more do you want? What more are you supposed to do? That to me is the challenge. I'm not sure what else more you wanted Indiana football to do. You could only play the teams that are on your schedule and in front of you, plain and simple. There's nothing else beyond that. Certainly hoping we get to hear from Curt Cignetti. We haven't seen any of the press conference pop up just yet. As soon as I see that come in, I will play it so that you'll be able to hear what Sig had to say during the postgame. I know there's a lot of questions about that punt, and the caller, excuse me, the caller asked about James Evans, and there's no question that he struggled today. 6 punts, averaged 33.7 per punt with a long of 49. Had a couple of real shaky ones, and that was trouble right there. Kyle, I appreciate you letting me know that Sig's on the BTN right now on the field with the BTN team. I definitely cannot stream that for you. I know that for sure, because the Peegs postgame live does not make the kind of money to deal with that lawsuit. So I appreciate the news. And, I suppose if you want to go over there and listen to them, I get it. I get it completely. But this is Reed says, let me get you fired up about the home game in the college football playoff for a round. I actually kind of like it. You probably would have too if we'd had a home game. I disagree with that. I don't think that these kind of games should be played at home when there's rankings involved, because it puts the human element into it instead of what it's decided on the field. So to me, you can take, and I understand why it didn't happen this year, you can take some of these smaller or lower profile, I'll say that, lower profile bowls and move a college football playoff game to that kind of situation. To me, it would increase the viewership for those bowls, and while also just making them more important. And yeah, you're taking bowl trips away from other programs, but some of these programs with the current situation, I mean, Marshall had half their team leave or something like that and had to tap out of their bowl game. So that could be an answer in the future. 812-393-2600 is the number. Let me go ahead and we got a caller. Caller, if you give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken. This is Neil Hood, Seymour, Indiana.
Hi, Neil. How you doing tonight?
Hey, buddy. About as well as you are, I'm sure. I am just getting to the south side of South Bend, heading back south on 31. And, feeling sad. That's not the team I wanted to see, not the game I wanted to see. I was okay with going in there and losing that game, but it would have just felt better had they played them a little tighter. I mean, those last 2 minutes there with the late touchdown and the onside, and then you're kind of, hey, what are we doing here? Are we going to get another one? And then it's other than that, not a fun game to watch.
No, and even the announcers, I assume that you were at the game, but even the announcers made the comment that this was kind of a dud of a game. And that is unfortunate that was the situation, because, they added a couple of late touchdowns, but it's certainly not what we wanted to see. And it's just a shame. But again, there's so much to be excited for the season. And I just, if you were at the game, just what was the atmosphere like in the stadium?
It was, we were at the game. It was, I'd want to say probably 60-40 from my view of Notre Dame IU fans.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of red in there. Now, obviously, everybody's bundled up, and there's going to be people that you can't tell what colors they're wearing. But proud of Hoosier Nation for showing up. They get. There was a lot of conversation, I felt like, heading into this week that Notre Dame Stadium, it's more like Michigan, where it can't get real loud, and so it won't be as loud as Ohio State. And because obviously IU, the offense, they struggled with the noise at Ohio State, and it's not going to be as loud as Ohio State. Now, I was not at that game, but from sitting in the stands, it felt like they struggled with the noise. Especially when they were down in one of the end zone with the student section. I don't know. What do you see on TV?
Yeah, no, that's how it seemed to me, too, that they struggled with the noise down by the student section. And that's what bothers me about the home game in this kind of environment when you're talking about a college football playoff. You don't necessarily have that during like an NCAA tournament game. And what makes this different to me is just the fact that there are, rankings are part of this, and a human element of who deserves to be there is in there, as opposed to just straight up tiebreakers. And that to me is what makes a home game, rough for me to swallow with this.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to be at a game of that caliber on a college campus. I don't like. It would have been fun to travel somewhere warm too, and it'll be interesting. Like, one, do they expand the CFP moving forward, and if they do, what do they do with these first round campus games? Is that something they keep? Because for me to drive, I drove 3 hours to be here, and I've got all the snow gear and all that stuff, throw it in the car and I can go. But let's say I'm coming from Arizona and to South Bend in the middle of December, it's like you can't expect those fans to travel as well for these things. So that would even give it even more home crowd advantage to the home team. So I'll be curious to see what they do.
Yeah, me too. There's and again, this is something that was expanded, and I think that that's a positive. It adds some excitement to me. If you can't be in the top 12 teams in the country, you don't deserve a shot at the national championship. But to me, there is more that you can do to put together to make this thing a little bit more fair. So we'll see.
Well, Ken, one last thing, because this is what we were talking about on our way out, is that this, was a fun team to watch. And saying that as a fan who, like you over the years, you've cheered for a lot of bad IU football teams. And so being able to cheer for a good team, they were fun to watch, that's great. But end of the day, this is a team that couldn't beat a ranked team this year. And so I wonder how that would affect IU next year if they're able to put together another team that's kind of one of those teams that they're on the bubble. You're the 9, 10, 13th, 14th seed, and you're in that conversation. Should they not get in? And Indiana last year, they got in.
Oh, sorry, you started to break up there, and I think we lost you. But I know what you were saying there. It was just basically, will that Indiana set a precedent here of hurting teams, and also if Indiana faces the same situation, they're going to need to have some resume builders along the way. I don't disagree with you on that at all. 812-393-2600 is the number. I know that Sig is at the podium at this point, and was a little bit ago. So hopefully we'll be able to get into what he had to say. So I'll keep an eye on that when that gets made available, either by Indiana University or if the fine folks over at Peegs.com are able to upload that into our system. I'll download it and bring it to you because that's what I like to do. We have a very lively chat going on where people are arguing about the SEC and South Carolina and Ole Miss and all of that. Hey, we don't get to see them. We don't get to see them. To me, you play the teams that are in front of you, and that's all you can do. The non-conference games you have no control over. SEC, is a tough conference. They play 8 games. Their Big Ten plays 9. To me, it's a very, very it's a frustrating part of what college football is, because there are so many questions along the way, and I really, really don't care for how year over year over year you could almost pick 6 teams out of a hat, and 4 or 5 of them every year will be, in the college football playoff. So who are we really, playing these for? Because it's the same cast of characters year over year over year. Hopefully NIL and the transfer portal will change that along the way. 812-393-2600. We've been going here for a while, but I'm happy to stay on as long as you guys want to talk. And again, I would like to be able to get let you people hear what Curt Cignetti had to say. That's going to be really important. I especially want to hear. I haven't seen it yet. Of just about that punt, which was just maybe the oddest call of the game. That's just not something that we've seen, and so it was just it's just hard. Now I'm seeing here that Curtis Rourke, one of the things that he said in his post game was I feel like I hurt the offense more than they stopped us. And that's a shame that Curtis feels that way because he did so much to help this ball club this year. Yeah, there's no question that the interception was a tough throw. He was inaccurate early on. He missed some throws that we've seen him make. The pressure may have gotten to him just a little bit, but, look, Indiana's defense had its breakdowns along the way as well. So I just simply can't get too upset with, any one guy because there were a lot of different areas that Indiana could have been a lot better. Now, this is something that I saw was a quote from Signetti. He said, "I didn't want to punt, but we were doing nothing on offense, and our defense was fighting. That was the only positive, really, that I could draw, is our defense was still fighting because our offense was doing nothing." Yeah, but you got to give them a chance. I understand they're not doing anything, but man, yeah, to me that was a rough choice. One of the odd ones. One of the very, very odd choices that they made along the way. 812-393-2600 is your number. Please give me a call. I'm hoping that Sig will show up. And again, this isn't going to stop with the football season. Basketball season and Mike Woodson's team, they play tomorrow. We'll be doing a call-in after tomorrow's game. And I'll do that as long as we got callers coming in because I like talking ball with you folks. Kyle says on the chat, Ken, it's been a blast this season. Looking forward to IU's rise going forward. Now that the SEC schools aren't the only ones paying players, we should be able to pick it up quickly. Unfortunately for Mike Woodson, all the attention is now coming his way. Look, lots of teams spent money on players before it was allowed. You might want to not dig into Barry Alvarez that much. But for Woodson, he's got some attention coming his way for sure. People are already, frustrated to say the least. So now with football, out of the way, over, not out of the way, over, that attention does cross the parking lot at the old Ferris Farm over to Simon Scott Assembly Hall. That'll be an interesting thing to see come down the pike. 812-393-2600. Hoping to have Sig show up. James says, if anything negative was exposed tonight, it was that we need to make improvements on the offensive line. Offensive line is where we were really outmanned against Ohio State and Notre Dame. Yeah, so are most teams. I agree with that. And I also agree with just trying to improve on the offensive line. That's a process. That's a process that takes time. So, James, I understand that you're not complaining, but just pointing out that was something that was exposed, and I don't disagree with that. Indiana did not deal with Notre Dame's speed well, their quickness. Indiana's offensive line struggled more than we've seen them this year against Ohio State. That was a bigger issue to me on that was blitzing linebackers not being picked up by running backs. In this one, it was defensive linemen that were getting through and harassing Curtis Rourke. And, honestly, this is still, there's a talent portion to this that Indiana was able to overcome against a lot of other teams. But when you're talking about teams that have elite talent, like Notre Dame, like Ohio State, your blue bloods, whether Notre Dame is winning at the highest level the way they used to, that is something that we could talk about. What will they do against Georgia next week? We'll see. But the bottom line is Indiana does have to get better along the offensive line, and Curt Cignetti will tell you that just adding sheer talent is going to be really important for this ball club, as is replacing some of the talent they have, too. I know, on the transfer market, you're looking at running backs. Indiana's already added a kicker, a punter. Nobody's job is safe because there's a standard that has been set this year that Sig is going to do his very best to keep people at. That's what he wants, is to be able to keep people at a really high level and set this standard. And the fact that Indiana was able to do what they did this year just, again, sets the tone for what can come in the future. And to me, that's what is the most exciting thing about this, because the expectations have changed, and they lost to a more talented team tonight. It was a 10-point loss on the scoreboard. Yeah, we know that Indiana added some late touchdowns, but it's not like it was 44-7. They still, outside of, the one big bust run, which we have not seen all season, and it happened at the very worst time. The other big bust run was against Ohio State late in the game. That was led to a garbage time touchdown that made that score seem worse than it was. So you go 11-2, and you lose a game by 10. You lose a game by what is it? Would they lose that Ohio State game? 38-17, I think. Something like that. It's not like you got housed. And it's Indiana. And this may be a new look Indiana, but it's still Indiana and a program in transition. 812-393-2600. The lines are open. I don't know how long as we approach 1 o'clock, how much longer. I'll go ahead and keep the lines open, waiting for some kind of video from Sig, or even if that's allowed from the college football playoff. That to me is the other question on this. I honestly don't know what I know that in the Big Ten tournament, I think it is, that they will not allow you to use video. You can use audio, but they don't allow you to use video when it comes to your coverage. So I don't know if that is something that is going on here. If that's what we're not allowed to do, I just simply don't know. Not at all sure. I'm trying to go ahead and figure out what it is that we can and can't do, and I got to do that on the fly. How about that? See if we can. Indiana Football Media Center has it, and Postgame. Yep, and they said that is something that they're supposed to have, and I have not seen it uploaded yet. Anyway, so 812-393-2600. Mike says the score was on the bench. Keep that in mind. Yeah, you had some stupid penalties along the way, for sure. Reed says, Ken, we missed a lot of tackles tonight, just slipped through our hands. Is that a next-tier player that we need to look for? You know what? The tackling fundamentals, they weren't good. Angles weren't great, which meant that Indiana was surprised a little bit, I think, by Notre Dame's speed. And that is part of the equation. I just did not see this team tackle this poorly all season. And boy, they were not good tonight. They were not good tonight at all. So a next-tier player that we need to look for, I'd love to have a running back that was like that. Not that I have a problem with anything that Ellison or Lawton did this year, but, just they were so slippery in so many ways and ran through tackles, and it was arm tackles. I felt that Indiana didn't play defense with as much violence as I like to see. That is part of the equation, that you want to see people come and hit people and put a lick on it. And I didn't see that a ton tonight. I just didn't see it. And that's what you're looking for, obviously, is somebody to go ahead and put a lick on somebody, and that's not what we saw. So you want that defense to be able to now improve. And that's the other thing, too, that this is year one with Curt Cignetti. And this 1 year, he has worked wonders. Him and his staff have worked absolute wonders. What is this going to look like with another full offseason of development, of a standard being set of this year? 13 James Madison players were on the roster who had worked with Curt Cignetti and his staff in the past. They helped sell what Cignetti was selling. Well, after an 11-2 season, if you're a player on that roster, you better be sold on what it is that Curt Cignetti and his staff are selling. There better not be a single doubt in your mind. So what is this program going to look like a year from now when they have another offseason of working and having how many more guys just more ready to carry the water? You had the 13 James Madison guys that helped everybody see the light. Well, now, a big chunk of the roster is there as well. So that is something I'm going to be really interested to see. Jacob on the chat says, the momentum swing with the pick and the 98-yard run just caused us to unravel mentally, I think. We had chances to hit Leonard and missed it, and when we did hit him, it was out of bounds. Leonard's slippery. He got away. He's an athletic kid. He's quick. That was, if he was an Indiana quarterback, we would love him to death because he made some nice throws along the way as well. But I agree, that pick followed by the 98-yard touchdown, that really, really didn't break Indiana's back, but it definitely makes them hang their head for sure. And to give up that long touchdown when you had, come out and you didn't do great right off the bat. You had a drive that went, 3 and out, and you had to punt. And then Notre Dame, you get the interception, but then you drive down the field, and it looks like you're going to at least get some points. And then Rourke throws that pick. That sucked a little bit of life out of you, and maybe didn't, if not hurt your belief, it certainly made you think that you missed an opportunity because they did. And then you have the 98-yard touchdown run, and oh gosh, it's a backbreaker because now instead of being up 7 or 3-0, depending on what happened, and you're driving and you're able to get the momentum away from the ball club, now they get it. And then you have to punt, and then they go on a long drive, and all of a sudden you are in a 14-point hole on the road in an environment you've never been in before, and it's tough to battle back from that. I give Indiana credit for that because they outscored Notre Dame the rest of the way, but it doesn't make a difference. The damage had already been done. Jacob also asks if Fisher sticks around, and I think so. I think he will. I assume that's what we're going to be seeing, but I don't know. I assume he would, though. That is kind of what I'm operating on. 812-393-2600. I won't stick around here for too much longer. Although I do, again, really appreciate everybody listening. And that's another thing. I want to just thank everybody who has listened to this all season. I was really, really disappointed when the call-in show on the IU Radio Network wasn't brought back for this year. I've been doing it for 13 years, and I just love talking football and talking with you guys after games. And I just had to figure out how to keep it going and a way to keep it going and be able to take your phone calls, because that's not something else that another show that covers IU football or basketball, nobody takes calls. And I wanted to, because I've always felt that it was therapy for people, and that people, enjoy hearing it. And obviously that has been the case, because this has been more successful this season. In our first season, it's been beyond my wildest dreams of how successful it has been. And I cannot wait to continue to bring this to you over the next coming years, because to me, this is something that's building, and it's building thanks to you guys. And I really, really, really appreciate all the support that you have provided for this ball for me, for Peegs.com, and for this call-in show, because it has meant the world. And to do it from the parking lot in Memorial Stadium and all that, and get to talk to a bunch of you in person and have you live on mic, when I don't have, a couple of weeks to throw this thing together to get it up and running, this summer is going to be, this off season is about me being able to catch my breath and figure out the best way to present this to you as well. And as always, you have this live broadcast goes onto our Peegs podcast feed. And that is, immediately as soon as I can get it up, that's when get it posted to the website. It's out there. So if you miss it live, you can still download it, subscribe to the Peegs podcast, and you'll be able to hear exactly, what you want to hear from this stuff. Last call right now, 812-393-2600. I will go until 1 a.m. That is my time that I will cut this off. But this has been an incredibly exciting year. 11-2 is something that nobody, thought possible. The margins of victory Indiana has turned in on the season have been incredible. 66-0 is, against Purdue, 77-3 against Western Illinois. And yeah, it's Western Illinois. 77-3 still. UCLA 42-13. 52-14 against Charlotte, 42 points against Maryland, 41 against Northwestern, 56 against Nebraska. They go down 10-0 at East Lansing and score 47 unanswered. And then you had that loss of Drew Evans on the offensive line, and you had those two games against Michigan and Ohio State, which are much stronger opponents in terms of talent. They scored 20 but still managed to beat Michigan, lose to Ohio State. And that's what makes today as disappointing as it was, because you wanted that offense to be humming at a high level, and it wasn't. We got another caller here. Caller, if I have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken, this is Kevin. Who's Your Hatchet on Twitter. I'm from Washington, Indiana. I'm on 31. I think we're passing Kokomo. Looks like we're going to get home about 3:30 in the morning. I think my reflective thought on the game is I've got a pennant for my mom that went to the 1967 Rose Bowl that hangs in my man cave, and I'm coming home tonight with the white towel that got the date of today's game, and I hope that towel doesn't go up by the pennant, and 20, 30 years from now, that's the only memory we have of really good Indiana football. I don't think that's the case. I'm excited to see what we do here in the portal and what we get with quarterback. I think we've got to strengthen up our line to play with the Michigans and the Ohio States and the Notre Dames just excited to see what happens. I think I'm more excited for the Old Dominion game in August than I am watching IU basketball, to be honest with you. But excited to see what Coach Signetti does here with the program.
Well, and it's going to be fun.
I'll hang up and...
Oh, go ahead. All right, he hung up. That's okay. I did a little miscommunication there. has me excited as well next year because you sold out those 4 games late in the year, and now I fully expect when we get to that Old Dominion game and am able to see what happens in the offseason, see if Indiana's going to be ranked in the preseason, see everything that goes along with it, the culture of this season, the change that this season has brought will only continue. I definitely hope it continues. That's my fear is Indiana, in 2020, Indiana had a very successful season. Beat Penn State on the Penix stretch, beat Michigan. It was the COVID year, so it was a weird year to begin with. But a packed house for Cincinnati, and then Indiana lost, and it all fell apart. This doesn't feel weird to me or like a flash in the pan situation. And all of us as IU fans have heard about the 1967 Rose Bowl season for our entire lives. And there was a running joke on the radio call-in show that every caller that we had been a season ticket holder since the Rose Bowl season. And there certainly are a lot of people there. Well, now you get to say, now back in 24, that was a team right there. Man, they were dominant. They beat everybody. Struggled against Ohio State, Notre Dame while Sig was building this. But you get to say that for the rest of your life. And again, you get to share it with young kids, with your parents, all of that. This has been just an unbelievable season. Jacob on the chat says it's one of the most fun seasons I've had the privilege to witness. And I got to have my son along with me for the ride. The kid is hooked on Hoosier football. Today was tough, but the future is bright. It's just incredible that we're here from where we were last year. And Hoosier football and Hoosier athletics, whether it be basketball or football, is such a connection to family. And it's just really special to be able to build those bonds and just have something fun to watch for a change, where you're not counting 6 wins and thinking, you know what, if we could pull off an upset at Ohio State and then win the next 2, we might be able to get to 6 and go to a bowl game. I'm not saying Indiana's going to win 11 games a year, but I do think that the bar has been raised for what people believe is possible at IU. And it's thanks to Curt Cignetti and his coaching staff and this 2024 team. And a lot of these guys maybe were only here for a year, but they will also be remembered for a very, very long time. 11-2 is your final season standing, or I guess, record. You lose in the first round of the college football playoff. Let the world say Indiana didn't deserve it. We were there. And as far as I'm concerned, we damn well did deserve it. And no, the game at Notre Dame did not turn out the way anybody who's a Hoosier fan wanted it to. But they couldn't stop us from being there. We earned it. And it's just such a thrill to have been able to have shared this season with you. Be sure to check out all the coverage, continuing coverage of IU's 27-17 loss to Notre Dame on Peegs.com. All the coverage of the offseason, including the transfer portal and everything that goes along with it. The Hoosiers are already bringing in guys and being able to do what they need to do. Chandler Whitmer is joining the football staff as the co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Per Matt Weaver. He's been hired and replacing Tino Sunseri, who's leaving to be the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at UCLA. He has been a passing game specialist for the Atlanta Falcons since February, so he brings that NFL experience with him. He also was with the Los Angeles Chargers from 2021 to 23 as an offensive quality coach and he was a graduate assistant at Clemson. So he's a younger guy. He also did stuff as a grad assistant in 2019 with Ohio State. And he is a young guy. He's built up his reputation, and he's Indiana's new quarterback coach. So again, you bring in quality guys with experience who can make a difference, and that's what Curt Cignetti is going to do. And you should all be excited that that's exactly what they've been able to do. Well, folks, it is 1 a.m. Eastern. And again, part of me talking is I don't want this season to end, but here we are. I didn't get to hear from Sig. I can't find the audio on this, but be sure to visit Peegs.com. We'll have it up as soon as we can. 27-17 is your final. Thank you for listening to the football postgame show. Basketball postgame show will be on the air after Indiana's game tomorrow against Charlotte, and as we go back into the Big Ten season in January. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on IU basketball and how that season, which is shaping up to be an interesting one, plays out. We've experienced the joy of the most successful Indiana football season in history. And I don't know if it's Winnie the Pooh or whatever that saying is, that don't be sad it's over, be happy that it happened. I kind of feel that way, but I'm also excited about what we're going to see next year. It's going to be a ton of fun. 27-17 loss in the first round of the college football playoff was unimaginable in September. It happened. Be disappointed for a brief time, but be excited for the future. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs Postgame Live. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you will not be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time, but for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for a great season. Thanks for listening, and have a happy holiday. Take care, everybody.